welcome to the Dad and Daughter Download presented by the Causeway family of dealerships. I'm the dad, Kevin Williams, and the daughter, Alex Williams, has work obligations, so I'm going solo, but that's not a problem because I have a very special guest tonight. First of all, again, we are proudly presented by the Causeway family of dealerships on Route 72 in Manahawkin, home of Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai, Nissan, and Honda. I am excited to endorse Causeway because they not only sell and service great cars, SUVs, trucks, even commercial vehicles, but they're committed to the community through their Causeway Cares Foundation. I have enthusiastically sent friends and coworkers there who have all had great experiences. They are Ocean County's hometown dealer. Start your search for your next car at causewaycars.com because it's likely you won't have to go anywhere else. And with that, I say welcome to my special guest tonight, Kevin Mallist. I'm going to do a little intro, Kevin. Little background, Kevin was an outstanding football player at Manchester Township High School, graduated in 2005. Later was a captain and linebacker at Rutgers University, finished up there in 2010, signed as an undrafted free agent with the Chicago Bears, spent a couple of seasons with the Bears, a couple more with the Tennessee Titans before retiring from football. Currently, and why we're having him on, is he's a partner and the vice president of talent at Legend Agency, a full-service sports marketing and representation agency. They do deal with contracts, branding, marketing, and legacy, some entrepreneurship and philanthropy. Among their clients are NFL players, past and present, coaches, guys in the broadcast industry, as well as even college and high school athletes. That's a new world we're going to touch on as well. Ironically, his partner at the agency and his co-founder is Pat Capra, who was Kevin's agent when he played in the NFL. Kevin lives in Toms River with his wife, Melissa, who he met while at Manchester Township High School. They have two children, Cameron, 9, and Gia, 5. He's just home from a Little League game, trying to get comfortable, and I say welcome into Kevin Mallist.
That was a fantastic intro, Kevin. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. I'm fired up to be on the show and talk things, all sports and Jersey Shore and whatever we want to talk about. I'm really excited for this. And Kevin, I have so much respect for you and your family for a long time. I'm a big fan of your family, even though all you guys are Penn State people. We'll hold that against you.
I appreciate that. So let's jump right into it. Like a lot of pro players, you had a relatively short NFL career, pretty much close to what the average is. After it ended, how did you transfer from that to what you're now doing today?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, throughout my journey, I was very lucky to have, a lot of really cool experiences, but even more so, developed a lot of really cool relationships. So that's a big piece of our business is, being in tune to the community and building these amazing relationships. And for me, it was nice because I could leverage my being involved at, Rutgers and then, with the Bears and the Titans and things like that. So I was able to have access to all these amazing people and with amazing backgrounds to help leverage a network to support my transition to the agency world. But even more so, playing in Chicago in 9 and 10, and I was in Tennessee 11 and 12. As you mentioned, Pat Capra was my agent during that process. And me and him just had an awesome relationship in a lot of ways. He taught me a lot about the business and ushered me through it appropriately to where I had peace of mind and I could always keep the main thing and play my best football. But he also allowed me to understand what the platform of being an NFL player could represent, right? The networks you can tap into, the relationships you can build alongside that, sitting down with business professionals of all different types of backgrounds and industries. So Pat did an amazing job just getting me out of my comfort zone to get me more social and utilized a platform in the NFL as a springboard, not a finish line. And because of that, I was able to, redefine myself in a variety of ways outside of just being an athlete. And I was able to just kind of make that transition into the agency world seamlessly through building relationships, but also just how to understanding the business aspects of it by having gone through a lot of it as a player myself. Even as a player, I seen a lot in my 4 years. I was a practice squad player. I was an active roster guy. I went on IR one year. I had to get a second opinion for that IR, and I even went through a lockout in 2011. I'm not sure if you remember the lockout.
Yeah,
in 11.
sure.
So because of that, I've seen a lot about the business, and then I understand like the relationship and what that should be, and look, just what I had with Pat. I try to pay that forward now in that relationship, and it resonates in a lot of parts of our business. And again, just very lucky to do so. That kind of is what led me down the path of representation, my relationship with Pat, and then my background experience in relationships.
How do you balance? You talked about when you were a player, you trusted your agent to take care of the business end and you could just play football. But there's a fine line there on what is football. Is it a game or is it a business? You've seen both sides of it.
I have. And for me, I was lucky to have the experiences. I'll even go back to Manchester, right? Having two older brothers who played college football, and my dad played college football as well. The groundwork was laid for me as far as how to act like a pro, even at a young age. Right. So I know it might sound a little dramatic, but like as far as, the ins and outs and the habits I was able to build at Manchester, I was able to get, moving quickly and playing as a true freshman at Rutgers University. Then at Rutgers playing for Coach Shiano, that allowed me to prepare like a pro as well, and how he, what his culture looks like there, and how we prepare there as well. So through my experiences growing up at home and then playing at Rutgers, it positioned me very well to just understand the game at a high level and to be able to play fast by the time I got to the NFL, but also understand like how to prepare and act like a pro, and not just learn it as a rookie, which some people, depending on maybe what they got away with or habits they built in certain parts of their career, I was able just to kind of step right in and do what I needed to do, and act like a professional very early in my career.
All right, I'm going off script for a second. So your father is Bill, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your brother, you have a brother Bill and a brother Brian. Where did the K come from?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, they went off script with me. I think when I was young, like my brothers and my dad used to mess with me and said I was supposed to be a girl or something like that. You know what I mean? But we went off script with the name.
All right. So, and from talking with you earlier, you're in charge of talent. It says right on your website, you're the guy in charge of talent. Does that mean that your main responsibility is recruiting talent for the agency?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a very broad title, so in a standpoint, yes. So I have a unique network of relationships I just kind of, built along the way and earned trust in a variety of different ways, right? Maybe as a player or, maybe in my transition into business and things like that. So that, yes, I'm a big part of like recruiting and what I like to call building a community around Legend Agency, right? And just kind of having, a source of contacts, resources, and people that we can lean on to find that next talent that we want to work with one day. And then outside of that too, all agencies, even though from afar they might look very similar, but everyone is very different, right? And they have a very different philosophy and whatever that delivery of service might be, in certain areas that they care about, and other care areas maybe they don't do as much in, right? For us, we're proud in everything that we do, not only within the contract, but everything we do outside the contract as well. And we have these pitches that we give to families and players throughout the journey. And what my role is I like to think I'm an internal accountability partner for those pitches and what we promise our athletes, right? My goal is to make sure we get all those things that we promised across the finish line and however they see fit for their futures. Right. And also to maintain that relationship and just kind of, given my perspective as a player, I can always operate as that, big brother of someone that's been through it, in a variety of different ways and had to overcome all different types of obstacles throughout my career. And nothing was really truly easy. But again, I've seen a lot of phases of the business that I can speak to and relate to the players in just a different type of way.
I have to assume the line of work you're in is a very competitive industry.
Very, yeah, extremely competitive. There's only so many players to go around, right? There's 32.
Yeah.
If you look at the NFL level, 32 NFL teams, and there's only so many players that play on those teams, which means there's only so many agencies that can represent those players. So yes, we pride ourselves in, again, we're very unique in what we have. My relationship with Pat, we're preaching, everything that we do and that we bring into the fold here. We're preaching basically our relationship, which again is very special. And there's a third partner that we have as well. His name's Ari Nissa. He has a tremendous background in NFL. He actually worked for a front office with the New York Jets as well. And then he jumped onto the agency side and represented 3 top 10 picks. He's got an incredible background and understanding the contract at a very high level. So between Ari's front office background, understanding the contract, Pat being very well out in front of the model that we believe in, which is more popular nowadays, athlete empowerment and athletes doing more now with their platform. And then my background, as a player, we have 3 unique perspectives that I think could, serve the talent at a very high level.
Give me an example, and this may be an unfair question, but how the process might begin. And I'm going to start with your relationship with Rutgers. If there's a really solid football player at Rutgers who might be sophomore, junior, really doesn't matter what year, but there's a pretty good consensus he has pro potential. How would Kevin Mallist, if that's the way it worked, how would you approach him?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So even nowadays, so when I was going through the process, it was different, because now you could have agents even in high school now. Right. So now those intros, they had that starting line is moving up more and more year after year. So it's kind of interesting to follow the business and how things are trending. But in regards to this conversation, let's just say, a Rutgers player is doing really well and there's some NFL potential there. A lot of times I just try to find a contact who has a relationship with that player. And this is at Rutgers or even, anywhere else, and reach out to that contact. I rarely try to just cold DM people or call them. I just feel like the best success that I have personally is reaching out to someone that can validate my character. Right. And that's so important, right? That understands me, how I do business, how I educate, and that they're in good hands knowing they made an intro to someone that's going to add value, whether they go with me or not, but they know I'm going to treat them right along the way. And I'm a reflection of that individual as well. Right. So that's why it's just so important to treat people right along the journey and never build a bridge, and always be a good partner, so that's kind of how I do it. I try to find someone who, again, has that relationship, and I just look for a soft intro there, and I don't come in hot trying to pitch everything. It's more so just building a bond, let them get to know me as a person. And then you start educating them on the agency side of the business, just so they understand what they should look out for and how they should evaluate the agent that they want to take on.
So you touched on it, so you kind of opened the door a little bit. You said even college and high school players. Obviously, a huge change from your playing days at both levels is what's going on with those levels today. So let's talk with college. NIL has just absolutely changed the game. I guess you could say it's better for the athlete. I don't know my old school mentality if it's really better for the game, but I understand it. And I always say the one thing you have to understand is you have to grasp change. Don't fight it. It's not going away. So we live in this world right now, and I noticed from going on your website, you have some college players listed. So what can you or what are you doing for them, your agency?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Kevin, because there's a lot of moving parts with that process. So a lot of it is, let's just say if we enter in high school, right, and we already built a relationship with a high school player, well, we help them evaluate, their entry point with the money that they might be making that respective school. But even and I hate that I even just led with money right there, because a lot of times we don't believe in that decision being only led by money and a financial piece of it, right? There's a lot of things that you have to evaluate about that school, where money is a part of it. Right, you want to obviously get market value for where you're at in the process, in the range of athlete, and wherever you're at, right, wherever you're sitting, right. But outside of that, what type of network does that school have? Like I'm a big believer in like academics and, and what else can you get in return for your time being spent there as a student athlete? And also, are they going to, like a lot of these guys, obviously they have goals and aspirations to be an NFL player, right? So what is putting you in the best position possible? Like, even if you're getting a little less money over here, but maybe who knows? Maybe they have a very good defensive back coach who's had guys go on to the next level in a variety of ways, but they're paying you a little less money, but the development you're going to get there is going to pay off down the line, right? Or even maybe there's a better culture fit for you to, again, maximize your potential so that you leave that school being the best player you can possibly be, right? So we help them kind of navigate that process. And then while they're in college, as we know, a lot of things happen. People get brought in, players get bumped out. So we help them evaluate that process alone. You got just, over, I believe, like 70 Power 4 schools alone. So think about it. If a kid gets ready to enter the portal, they have to be in contact and have an idea of like what's the best fit for them personally. So they got to lean into people that can help navigate that process and to evaluate, get feedback on their interest level, because it all moves very quick. As soon as that window opens, names are flying off the board. All opportunities get pulled off the board too. Like maybe if they already got their tight end, right? And like by the time you went to go visit there, it was already locked up. So you got to be able to move quick. And you got to do a ton of research. And again, you got to properly evaluate the process and do what's right for the kid and the family, right? A lot of times, again, everyone's in this business. It's unfortunate. Sometimes they're just chasing a higher value because they know that maybe they make more money off that, right? Because that gets kicked through the agent as well, but a lot of it is if you play it the right way, and we have an NFL business, is we're trying to position guys to best position them on and off the field.
I don't know if you can answer this from a business standpoint, but I'll ask you to answer it from a personal standpoint. It drives me crazy when I'm watching a college football game and they introduce a player and they list the 4 schools he's been at. He started here, then he went there, then he went here, and now he's 24 years old. He's on his 4th school. As a former player who didn't have that option, how do you feel about that?
It's a great question, and I will say, a lot of times, it's player on player, depending on what they've gone through and what their situation might look like. Now I will say questions will arise. So you have to properly prepare for that. So say if I'm a scout or a coach and I'm evaluating now you as an NFL player, maybe you're coming through the combine, right? And I got a meeting with you. I'm definitely going to ask you, and we're going to walk through your journey and what allows you to move. You know what I mean? And a lot of times if you're just kind of running from competition, and again, it could be a wide range of reasons why people move, offensive coordinator left. Okay. So that's OC that recruited you. Of course, maybe you would want to go with him. Everything's, maybe you went through something from a family standpoint and you want to live closer to the family now. Like who knows what it could be, right? So a lot of these kids, they're still college kids and they're dealing with a lot. And there's even more on their table now. So I try to give grace wherever I can. But at the same time, you will answer, like if you're just running from competition, well, obviously, that, Kevin, like in the NFL, you get drafted to Dallas. I can't say, I want to hit the transfer portal. Like it doesn't work that way. They're expecting you to come in there and compete, and they could care less if what your personal feelings are. You know what I mean? So like that's part of your evaluation. Like that's part of the evaluation process. So you just got to be prepared to be able to answer to your journey and be accountable for that.
That's a great answer. I always almost feel like there should be an asterisk. The one position that I'm sympathetic to is if you're a quarterback, because only one of them play at a time. So you go somewhere, coach brings you in, he recruits you, maybe you play a little bit your freshman year, and now here comes the transfer guy who's a 2-year starter at a Power 4 school, and he's now the starter, and you may never get on the field. Those young men, I never get upset when I hear they moved on. They got to get an opportunity to play.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's perfectly said. They got to get their reps and they got to find their way on the field, and they just can't sit there and behind someone that and they never know who else they're going to bring in the portal too. So sometimes you just got to constantly evaluate and react and to take as much information that and make sure that you're making the right decision for your own personal career and how you want to climb it.
I know one of the things your agency is very heavily involved in, and you personally, is philanthropy, making sure that your clients know the right from wrong and what to do and how they can make an impact, not just playing a position, but in helping their community or their town.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in impact, you said it. That's the word, right? Impact, right? So we encourage a lot of our guys to get involved in some sort of way, and it could be something as simple as setting up a free camp in their local communities to give back right where they played their youth football, and it allows them to address the young kids that are trying to aspire to do what they have done. And or maybe they have another cause that's a little more geared to their heart. My brother, I know you're familiar with my brother. He got into a really bad car accident as a state trooper my freshman year. So Pat set me up with the platform to give back to spinal cord research. And to me, that just meant so much, for Pat to proactively do that. He wasn't making any money on that by any means, but he just knew I cared about it. And I wanted to give a voice to it because it affected me deeply, and it was a big part of who I am. And how cool is that from a return standpoint?
Yeah.
And I know how that made me feel. So a lot of times, maybe they were affected by a cause, and and hopefully they weren't, to be honest, but hopefully then we could find something else that they want to get involved in, and just begin that area of impact of getting in the habit of paying it forward and just doing awesome things for other people. And yeah, we start driving that. Honestly, we start talking about that in the pitch immediately. And it's not like, it might not be the coolest and sexiest thing to talk about, but it's very important for them to identify, to develop an identity outside of just playing football, and to make sure that you're serving the community that surrounds you, is giving you so much for the opportunities that you have. So we try to make sure that we give them that opportunity and show them how to do that. And that's where I go back to, Pat really understanding that, because Pat's been doing his first players for a very long time. And just very grateful that Pat gave me now the roadmap to do that.
There are more than a few pro athletes who lost most, if not all, of their money for a variety of reasons. What at the Legit Agency do you do when planning to help these players understand there's going to be an end to their pro career? Whether it's 2 years or 15 years, it's going to end, and you got to plan for it.
So financially, we have some financial advisors just within our network of people that we got to know, both personally, but also professionally, in how they do business. They do business at a very high level from a financial standpoint, and growing your wealth, but also they're just great and trustworthy people, to where you can bounce all areas and ideas off them from a spending standpoint, rent versus buy, things like that. So we have a bunch of financial advisors. Well, I shouldn't say a bunch, but a very good pocket of them that we lean into. And the first and foremost is that we know that they're going to educate, because a lot of it is, even if you're a little nervous, to go with a financial advisor and just start giving your money out, and you have some maybe things that you want to spend on first, and I get it. It comes at a different point for a lot of different people, depending on where they're at in their career, right? But we want to make sure for when that time comes, you're ready to strike, and you know exactly who you're going to, and you're already very well educated, and you know the proper timing of when to do so. And now that conversation, again, like we were talking earlier, it happens earlier now, because these guys, they make money, a significant amount of money right in college, so they need that financial education, that financial literacy piece even earlier in their career. And a lot of the colleges that are doing it the right way, they're introducing it in their own way, financial literacy as well, because they don't want to be known for the school that their guys, yes, make a lot of money, but then they have a tough going down the line, right? So they're trying to empower their athletes as well.
What would Kevin Malice, the agent, tell Kevin Malice, the player, to get from Greg Schiano if he was playing at Rutgers today?
Oh my God! You mean financially?
Yeah,
financially.
What that would look like?
Oh, man. That's something to put a price tag on it.
Yeah.
What would help me is I had a really good junior year at Rutgers, and I had a good amount of tackles. And I see this all the time too. Rutgers, when I played there, it would have been tough to keep a lot of those guys. Ray Rice, Brian Leonard, Tyquan Underwood, Mike
Yeah.
Teal, Jason and Devin McCourty, Kenny Britt, Anthony Davis, all these guys. I played with 3 first-round draft picks when I was there. So like unbelievable players. Jeremy Zuta, Jamal Westerman. I can name a ton of all the guys that I played with that ended up playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
It would have been really hard to keep that whole team intact, just given all the success we were having. But I think. I think I would have did okay, and it would have took a lot for me to leave Rutgers my senior year to even go somewhere else, just because I just appreciated the relationships that I had there, and it allowed me to stay close to home for my family to watch.
Listen, you would have gotten pizza money. You could have taken your wife out on a date for sure.
Exactly. Hey, I would have been just happy with an NIL deal from one of those car dealerships on Route 37.
There you go. There you go.
Whatever you can give me, I would take.
So, as an agency, you're relatively new. The 3 of you, the partners, this agency. Where do you hope to be? If we were talking 10 years from now, where do you and your agency hope to be?
Yeah, so it's funny. We actually have like a longer backstory than what Legend is. So like we used to be called another agency before then, called Malka Sports, and we helped grow that too. So, and we were all involved in Malka Sports as well. So we've been together for a long time. And me and Pat specifically, Ari came in a little later, but we still been with him for a while too. But me and Pat been together almost close to a decade now. Okay. So we're off and running as far as like alignment and, as far as how we serve the guys and, relationship driven and everything involved in that. And where do we look to be? We just want to continue to work with, great kids and great families and help usher them throughout their career. It's hard to put like, a number of players and things like that. A lot of things happen very organically if done the right way in this business. So just trying to continue to grow the community that surrounds Legend and continue to serve all the amazing athletes we currently have on the roster, but also to find, the next exciting ones to work with down the line and get to know them and their families and their goals and aspirations and serve, right? And what's really cool about this business is to give back. Right. It allows for me to have so much fulfillment and again, having appreciation and gratitude in my relationship with Pat, paying that forward, but also just my everyday gratitude of everything that I've been through. I'm so thankful to be sitting in this seat doing what I do. You know what I mean? So it allows me just to kind of have just an amazing amount of fulfillment. And that's what I just want to continue to do. I never want to I don't think that'll ever get old for me, which is why I love to do what I do every day and serve others. Just taking it one day at a time.
Your passion comes through. There's no question about it. All right. You mentioned it a bit earlier. You come from a very close-knit and football-minded family. You talked about you 2 brothers were college players. Your dad was a player and was also a coach for many, many years. So you have 2 young children, 9 and 5, and I believe you coach your son's flag football team. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I right? Okay.
Yep.
So
I coach his flag and tackle football team. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to ask you, as Kevin Malice, the dad, does him playing tackle football when he gets older, is that something that concerns you?
No. I'm okay. And my son Cameron's been playing tackle since he was 7. But I will say this: like, I understand. A lot of things that people make people nervous about it. I completely get it. But I come back to the fundamentals and being taught the game the right way. Right. So safety is very important in so many different ways and how we communicate drills and techniques with our organization, with the Titans Warriors. And then, within our own pocket, now is going to be 9U, right? So I've been climbing the ladder, 5 and 6 flag, 7U tackle, 8U tackle. Now I'm doing 9U next year. And we just believe in, again, proper technique and teaching the kids to play the game the right way. And we coach on every single play and we communicate that on every single play and every single drill. We over communicate just because we don't take for granted what this sport is and how great it can be, but it's got to be done in a safe manner, right? And that's something that we firmly believe in. So I understand. So that's why, and when you evaluate that process for a young man and you're going through it and a young boy too, just to make sure that do you trust the people that are teaching those kids and what they're trying to do and how they're trying to accomplish it. That's how I would just kind of evaluate it on a team by team, age by age basis. So that's why, that's more so where I want to get involved. Obviously, I want my son to have a great experience. I want to teach him the right way, but I want to teach all of his other friends on how to play the game the right way and the certain things that make you successful as a player, from it fundamentally and technique, but also from a mindset standpoint.
Yeah, there's no question. Your son, Cam, is lucky to have you in his corner because of your background in the sport and your belief. So now, if your son is an athlete, which we've established, tell me about your daughter.
Yeah, no, she's right on the edge of like firmly getting involved in a variety of different things, but she does baseball too. She plays baseball, not softball yet. She just likes to, she's hitting that baseball and getting after it. She's in her second year. She does dance, gymnastics. We kind of put her in a little bit of everything. It's funny, and you know this, Kevin. Like I come from a family of boys, right?
Yeah.
So like it's not like I wasn't raised with a sister, so like so we're learning a lot too. My brother Billy has two daughters who are fantastic as well. So like we're learning a lot, like in the mindset of my approach towards girls and the upbringings. Like, and it's so funny. Like there's a huge difference. Like I'm hard on Cam, my son, but like my daughter, I'm way nicer too, and she could do no wrong. So, but she is very aggressive and she's very talented and athletic. So it's going to be really fun to watch her continue to grow and get confidence. And whatever she decides to pursue, I'll just support 100%. I know we're going to put her in basketball next winter, so we're right at that edge where we're going to really dive in, and we're excited about it.
Well, there's no question. The Malice family has great athletic roots, and I'm sure you will pass that on to your kids, and you have passed that on to your kids. It was really fun catching up with you. We haven't talked in a long time, and I'm so happy you're doing something in which it's so evident to me that this is what you should be doing because your passion comes right through when we talk. And and maybe that's part. I always say that's part of the definition of success. Is you got to do something you have passion for. If you can do that, you're ahead of the game, and you clearly are. I wish you nothing but continued success with your agency, with your family. Please send my regards to the other members of the Malice family. And again, I appreciate you giving us some time on the Dad and Daughter Download. Thank you so much, Kevin.
It's been honestly a pleasure, Kevin, and thanks so much for having me. And again, so much respect to you and your family, an amazing family. I love all you guys. And again, thank you so much for all your service in Jersey Shore sports. I'm a big Jersey Shore guy, and I grew up on the traditions and histories of the players that I've grown up watching, and I wanted to emulate one day. And your coverage on it all has been just fantastic, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for the Shore.
Well, you've done your part to emulate that for sure. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. That is Kevin Malice.
Absolutely.
Kevin Malice, as we said, Vice President of Talent at Legend Agency. You can look them up online and see their list of some of their clients and some of the things they do. And we wish him success, a great success. He's already having it. Many of us know about the Crab's Claw Inn in Lavallette as the home of great seafood and much more. It's also the place to get the jump on the holiday weekend with Joe Nolan's Blast Off the Summer beginning at 6 a.m. on Friday with a live radio broadcast on 107.1 The Boss. There'll be live music throughout the day from, among others, the Eddie Testa Band and Captain N. O'Neill, plus big energy from Joe Nolan himself. It's become a Jersey Shore tradition, so visit the Crab's Claw this Friday starting at 6 a.m. or wait a little later in the day. That's the Crab's Claw Inn, Route 35 North in Lavallette. Again, without the daughter, we're going to end this one right here. Our special thanks again to Kevin Malice. Our thanks, of course, always to our sponsors, the Causeway family of dealerships. My friends, I wouldn't buy a car from anywhere else. And, of course, the Crab's Claw Inn. Alex will be back next week. Again, thanks to Steve Meyer, as always, for what he does to get us going. If you want to the podcast is wherever you get your favorite podcast. But for those of you that are novices, you can just go on shoresportsinsider.com and you'll see all the boxes for the different sports. There's one that will say podcast. Click on the podcast, and it'll take you to the Dad and Daughter Download. And the bonus on that, you don't just get the audio, you get the video. So you'll see both Kevin and I on the podcast. Thanks again, everyone. Steve, I appreciate all your help. As always, we're back again next week. I'm going to say happy Memorial Day weekend for the celebration of it being the unofficial start to summer at the Jersey Shore. But I'm also going to say on Monday, just take a minute, if it's only a minute, to thank those and reflect on those who made the ultimate sacrifice so we can do the things we do in this country. All right, good night, everyone. Thanks for watching the Dad and Daughter Download.